It takes about 3 hours for food to break down, and then the amino acids go into your bloodstream, they go into your portal vein, go to the splanchnic bed, and then they're scattered all over the body. With a protein powder, it's more targeted. So now it's already broken up. You've got intact protein, but it's all broken up, pre-digested pretty much, right? Goes into the portal vein, and then it's much faster, and now it can get over to the muscles sooner.
All right, we are back with another episode of Sup Beast. As always, Zane Spruce, Neal Spruce, and today we will be talking about protein powders and specifically how they perform as a supplement, not so much what a protein does in your body. If you want to find out a full breakdown on that, go check out our episode on proteins. Everything you'll ever need to know about protein will be in there. Let's get started here with what is the function of protein powder outside of getting protein like in your diet.
Yeah. Well, there's many, especially in the 21st century, it just makes living so much easier. So there's a convenience to it.
Right.
I mean, to get, 30 grams of protein from fish, chicken, or whatever, you either got to go to a store and buy it, cook it, or go to a restaurant and get it. This is like portable. You got 30 grams of great protein, especially if you're using like a good source of whey protein. Okay. Right. Now, but again, that's only the beginning of it. There's also a cost savings, for it's like $2 for 40 grams of protein, and where that would cost you a fortune in a store. So the economics of it, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two is the convenience of being able to get, be able to add protein. And it's another protein source. So whether it be soy or like a plant protein, or whether it be a whey protein, an animal protein, and a powder, it adds another source to what you're getting daily. So you have fish, you have chicken, now you have another good source of protein here that's higher in protein, lower in calories. Right. So it's what we call calorically efficient way to get your protein requirements. And the difference is today, people now all realize they need more protein. Every commercial on TV is about protein,
Yeah.
So 1 gram per pound of lean body mass daily, split up throughout the day, almost impossible to do with your regular traditional foods. Very, very difficult. And that's going to compromise you as you get older. Or every workout, you're not going to recover as well. There's lots of reasons for that. And then protein also is very satiating as well, as far as keeping you full. So again, but the bigger part for protein powders, right, is weight control, managing weight. It is the number one weight loss solution in the world, bar none. That's against all drugs except the new GLP-1s. So we're going to give them, we only give them credit, but the great part about the GLP-1, you're going to lose weight twice as fast, but you're losing muscle twice as fast. So you now you really have to have a protein powder to supplement it. So that's another topic. But the bottom line, nothing comes close to the success of managing weight using meal replacements as part of your diet, which are protein powder based, high protein based. So there's the other part. And then there's a bigger one. And you should know this. I couldn't get any of my kids to eat fruits and vegetables growing up. Oh man, I put it in a protein powder, make a smoothie out of it, and you guys loved it. Right. And then of course you went ahead and ate fruits and vegetables as well. But a great way, those are the most missed nutrients. The average adult in the United States gets 1 serving of vegetable and 1 serving of fruit a day, and you're supposed to have 9. So put a couple in your smoothie. Yeah. 1 or twice a day, and you've got things covered. So there's so many great uses for that. And baking. Your pancakes can now have 15 grams of protein rather than 2 in all carbs. Yeah. There's all kinds of things you can. Protein powders are so valuable. They should be in everybody's pantry.
As a supplement, though, is there anything that is effective as in, I guess, absorption for like muscle gain and stuff like that?
For sure.
So what is the advantages of getting protein
for a supplement?
Through a powder and as a supplement?
Well, I just gave you 6 great advantages.
Right.
I got it. Okay, but like, as far as working out or exercise,
what is its effect for performance?
Okay, one, because to get an athlete to eat that many grams of protein in food would be impossible. Right. So that's the one. That's long term. Okay.
Right. I'm saying. So
I got you. I'm going to finish. That's long term. So let's stay there first. That's most important. But then before and after workouts, when your muscles are really oversensitized because they're damaged and they're just screaming for help. And you can get protein from a protein powder, which is already pre-digested. You can get it into your system in 30, 40 minutes. It takes about 3 hours for food to break down. And then the amino acids go into your bloodstream. They go into your portal vein, go to the splanchnic bed, and then they're scattered all over the body. With a protein powder, it's more targeted. Yeah. So now it's already broken up. You've got intact protein, but it's all broken up, pre-digested pretty much, right? Goes into the portal vein, and then it's much faster, and now it can get over to the muscles sooner. But also, most protein powders for athletes have carbs in it. Yeah, and that's what you want, because you got to refill your glycogen stores. So it's really important to do that before and after a workout. You can never do that with food like that quickly, to restore the glycogen right after a workout. So that window of opportunity is an important time. The protein in that window of opportunity, as long as you're getting enough, isn't as important as like the carbohydrate replenishment. That's part of a good protein powder.
That window, are you referring to as like the anabolic window?
Yeah, they call it, there's metabolic window, anabolic window. It's when your muscle cells have been damaged from your workout and they're now most sensitive to nutrients. In other words, they're looking for help.
Yeah.
And if that help doesn't get there, the window begins to close and the anabolism in the muscle begins to close, and it just waits for another time in the day to do it. It doesn't make it all up, though. So you really want to have protein available, or the amino acids. It's certainly the 8 amino acids that are involved in turning on muscle-building machinery, and that's in the protein as well. And you want those available during those times.
When they talk about, we'll get into the different types of proteins right here in a second, but before we get into that, I'm sure... I mean, this is kind of a word that I hear thrown around quite often, is like the bioavailability of things. Yeah. What is bioavailability when it comes to...
Pretty much just what it says, bio being body, and so forth. Is it available to the body?
Okay.
In other words, if you swallowed iron in its elemental form, like you pulled it out of dirt and you swallowed it, it would probably just go right through you. It's not bioavailable yet. It needs to be converted to a bioavailable form so the body can now take it into its receptor, through the enterocytes and up into the body. Well, protein, pre-digested protein is going to be more bioavailable than whole food protein, because you got a lot of work to break that whole food protein down. You got to scatter, the stomach starts to do it, then it gets into the duodenum, and then it goes to the jejunum, and then the ileum, and it's just trying to extract stuff all the way around. So if you can make it a little bit more bioavailable by digesting it before you swallow it, now it's ready to go.
And that's what a protein shake is?
That's what a protein powder is. A little more digestible, absorbable than food proteins, number one. But the second part of that is that, being more bioavailable, okay, there's a bunch of other things you do. Like in the vitamin mineral worlds, we want to convert, before you swallow the vitamin, we want to convert it to a bioavailable form that body recognizes. So as soon as it gets down into your intestines, body goes, whoa, I can accept that, boom, and drop it in. That's bioavailability.
And the methylated form is the preferred one and all of that, right?
There's only a couple of things you can get commercially methylated. So we'll go. That's another story.
Yeah, that's another episode. I was just wondering.
I know. I just love this internet crap that's out there. The people just pick up on something. They read a study out of context and they just got no clue.
Well, that's good, because but
bioavailability,
a little off topic, methylated. I was asking you the other day about it, and you're saying, you can only get a few things methylated.
Yeah,
so when they're talking about a methylated multivitamin, there's only one or two vitamins within that multivitamin that are actually methylated.
Actually commercially get them available, make them available. And there's things you don't want methylated. There could be some real issues with it too. But that's the idea, is making it absorbable.
Right.
If you break it down before you swallow it, then it's going to be more bioavailable to the body. Okay, and there's another saying, though, you should know, and that goes into vitamin mineral therapies and so forth, and like collagen supplements, we call functionally available. Bioavailable just means that it got into your body, got through your GI tract, right? Mm-hmm. And it went into your body. So let's say you got 90% of that vitamin mineral absorbed in the body, and you only lost 10% of it. That'd be pretty normal, okay? But what happens when it gets in the body? Is it still functionally available? Functionally means it's got to go to the target tissue and act in that target tissue the way you want it to act. That's what we call functionally available.
So is that even like a step beyond?
It is. It just means you're looking for the most accurate bioavailable and functionally available. So there may be like 5 different forms of iron that when you combine them all, now you've got some functional availability. They're going to every little transporter. They're getting in there and they're getting to the target tissues. We do that with collagen supplements, peptides. We can actually make it, nanosize it so it can actually get to the target tissues. That would be functionally available. That's what we're talking there.
With that all being said, all these protein powders we're going to get into whey, soy, pea, casein, egg white, collagen. All these have I looked up on my own. They have a bioavailability score.
Yeah, call it biological value.
Oh, biological.
Okay, that's what they call it, biological value. But there's also what do they call it? It's a PDCAA score, which is a predicted digestibility corrected amino acid score. Okay. Now, that's another. Remember that, somebody, because I don't even know how I pulled that out of my brain, because that's like deep into the studies of each protein and so forth. So there's a couple of different scores, but let's stay with biological value, which means that it's closest to what the human needs. Sure. Okay. So,
Right. And what I gathered is Whey here has the highest.
yes. Well, not only that, they didn't discover that until too late. That's why people can go, how do you get a 104 biological value? You know, isn't 100 this top score? Well, egg whites and the whole egg was the number one score before.
Yeah.
And then they realized, well, Whey's even better, so they made it 104. There's a way of doing that. I'm not sure that's a true story. All I know is 104 is the true story.
Yeah.
It is the most highest biological value protein, which means it satisfies the need of a human being, a human, better than any other protein when it comes to the essential amino acid count per gram of protein and digestibility and absorbability. All those factors are figured in for bioavailability because you can have the highest amino acid score, but you can't absorb it, then it's useless. So they have to factor it all in. That's what biological value is. And that's the true value of the protein.
And so let's get into it. Let's start talking about whey protein here. So we'll go over the types, right? We got whey concentrate, isolate, and hydrolysate.
Yeah,
is that
hydrolysate,
how you
yeah.
Hydrolysate's fine?
Yeah.
What is, I guess, start with concentrate and what is whey concentrate?
Whey concentrate, well, again, the bovine, where we get it, so forth, the bovine milk is, I believe it is 60%, it's 80% casein and 20% whey. And whey's the gold. That's what everybody wants inside because the biological value I just explained. And it's the liquid portion. When you do an extraction when you're making cheese, there's a liquid left, and that's whey. It's very expensive, and it's a gold. It's like mining gold. So they get that, and then in there comes along in the concentrate comes with all the amino acids we talked about. The highest count of amino acids per gram of protein, and especially your 9 essentials, which is what you're looking for. That's the gold inside the gold. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it also, what you also get with it, you're getting bioactives. So there's these health globulins, growth globulins that are natural bioactive amino chains in there that are naturally like mother's milk. I mean, mother's milk was without a doubt the superior source. And by the way, mother's milk is 60% whey and 40% casein. That just tells you how valuable whey is.
That's why I was on the teat till I was 8.
That's right, and that's
kidding.
And that's it. And the growth factors are all in there. You want the growth factors, the health factors that mom passes on to a baby to build the immune system, and that's still in the concentrate when you use it. So concentrate's always great, but don't forget here before we go off to the isolate.
Yeah.
There are many levels of concentrate. A real cheap one just like a milk extraction and they're done. But you can strip out all the lactose out of a concentrate and leave in the growth globulins and everything, all the good stuff. Leave in the little minerals you want that are naturally found in whey. And of course, you still get the same amino acid count. So there's different levels of filtration. It's got, again, very, very almost negligible lactose if you get a good concentrate filtered out, but it saves all the good stuff besides just the amino acids, saves the growth and health globulins. So that's a concentrate. Now, you take that concentrate, you want to take it out further, you're throwing out all the growth globulins and health globulins. That's an isolate. Yeah. And the reason they do that, there's a lot of reasons they do that. One, it also, if there's any lactose left, it would be gone, if there was. But there's a good, again, some concentrates are going to have lactose because it's a cheap filtration process. A good one will wipe it out. I mean, the ones we make, of course, obviously wipe them out. But when you make an isolate, now you're stripping out all the bioactive peptides that are pretty good. So you lose that. But you do get the amino structure, and that helps people that have certain clinical conditions or they're allergic to a dairy protein, which would be one of those health or growth globulins there. Okay.
I'm allergic.
Yeah. And that, by the way, so the number on that is 0.5% of the population. So 0.5% of the population might have a dairy. That's not lactose, because don't forget, you can get
I'm not
lactose.
lactose intolerant.
Right.
I am dairy. I'm allergic to whey, casein, and all.
It's one of the globulins in there. Then is what you're allergic to, and so that's a 0.5% of the population. But I would always prefer a concentrate, just because of the extra stuff. That's all I've ever used in my life. A well filtered one that got rid of all the crap. So that's what an isolate is. Okay, it's one step further than a concentrate, but you're taking out some good stuff. Yeah. Because, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure someone doesn't have an allergy to it. That doesn't mean that there's still not an allergy left, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I mean, I remember you had me try an isolate, and it didn't nearly. I mean, I didn't try it long. I just did it the one-off time, and it didn't seem like anything was going on with me. I don't know if sometimes I have to build up, right, and then it starts showing its like rearing its head.
Yeah.
But like with a concentrate though, that will wipe me out, you know. And
that's,
so I mean, there's that to be said.
Yeah. The next one, so that was the isolate. After the concentrate isolate.
So it's just more, all
more
the globulins.
More filtering, and the globulins are gone. All the good stuff. I mean, not all the good stuff. All the amino acids are in there just the way it was in concentrate, but it cleaned out all the other stuff. So for someone with a clinical condition or something like that.
Yeah. And so the hydrolysate. So this has been brought to my attention. I didn't even know. I thought there was just concentrate and isolate. But this was brought to there's this guy, he's pretty big in the space, or Dr. Mike Israetel or whatever his name is. He seems pretty knowledgeable, but he says like the only thing that goes in his body is hydrolysate, but it is expensive.
Yeah, it is. And we use it in baby formulas because it's really gentle. You know why? Because it's another digestive process one step further.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing, because both whey concentrate and isolate are what we call intact proteins. Okay? They're just basically the proteins, though. So you got your chain, you got your 20 amino acids that you need. A hydrolysate, you know what it does? It breaks up that chain. So it could be as small as 2 amino acids to 20, all 20. So it could be a complete protein, or it could just be a peptide of 3 or 4 amino acids, 5 or 6 amino acids. And they have the ability to cross your intestines. They can go into different transporters. So they might get in there a little sooner, but I mean, how soon do you need it? So it's not that, it's kind of ridiculous. Right. Yeah. So I mean, that part doesn't really matter.
He had even stated that it was like overkill.
It is overkill.
And that, as far as,
agreed.
I mean, I'm going to ask you this question of what's best, but he even was getting into the fact of like
cost.
All of these don't even matter to you, like average folk or whatever. It's like anyone you use will be perfectly fine and great.
Yeah, and he is correct on that. And the hydrolysate, but I will tell you this, they're what we call them. This can be another chapter. I'm just beginning to get deeper into it. I mean, we've known about certain individual peptides for years and years and studied them for different sort of molecules you're trying to create to get them into the body. The problem with peptides is that when you create you have to use, it has to be a hydrolysate to make the peptides. Because you're chopping up the protein.
Now, when you're talking about peptides, what are we talking about?
We're talking about a hydrolysate.
Oh, okay.
They're peptides. That's what they are.
Okay.
They're just many. In other words, you've got the whole protein in what we just talked about, all 20 amino acids, right? Well, what we do with hydrolysis, we break them down into peptides.
Yeah.
So anytime you're taking a peptide, it was a hydrolysis from an amino acid, from amino acid structure. Yeah. So that could be 2, 3, 4. They're different types of peptides, and they have different target tissues in the bodies where we're trying to get them. So that would be a hydrolysate. They're the same thing.
Okay.
A hydrolysate, that's how you make peptides, from all that. So anyway, that's and those have different target tissues is what we're trying to get.
And just because the word peptides gets used a lot, people inject peptides. Is that what you're talking about? The injectable peptides?
Well, because they're a string of amino acids. So say it with me.
Yeah, I get
20 amino acids.
I was just making sure.
Now they're 4.
Yeah.
Now they're 4 or 5 or 6. They're different chopped points of that might have a different target tissue than the whole amino acid being torn down.
Yeah.
Or the whole chain being torn down.
Because I'm aware, like the BPC 157 and stuff like that.
Those are all peptide stuff. Yeah.
So
that's what they are.
I was just making sure that's what you're talking about.
That's a regular whole protein broken down into little peptides. And the peptides are generally anywhere from 2, because a single would be a free form amino acid, so that doesn't count. 2 would be a peptide.
Yeah.
You got glycine and you got methionine connected or something. You know what I mean? And then you've got anywhere from that all the way up to the full.
So as far as is that everything on hydrolysate? Like,
that's it.
It's just a more refined version
of all the other stuff. Yep. And except they're chopped up into little peptides. They may have some other different areas they might be able to get to in the body where regular protein wouldn't get.
Maybe you can settle this for everyone out there. I mean, concentrate versus isolate is just a huge battle on the internet. What is better?
Well, hopefully from what I just described, people would naturally figure that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just described it. I mean, if you have to go back, go replay, go rewind.
Yeah.
Not you. I'm just saying, everybody rewind back. I described a concentrate, I described an isolate, and I described the difference between the two. You make up your mind.
Right.
And if you can't make up your mind from that, then I think there's a disconnect somewhere, because But let me stay with you. Because I'm gonna answer the question. I would always, because I don't have any allergies, right?
Yeah.
At all, period, at all. I would always take a good concentrate, a highly filtered concentrate that has basically no lactose. Not that I care about lactose, but really none. And but it leaves in the bioactive globulins. It leaves in the growth factors, and it leaves in the immune factors, and all the good stuff that happens to be in milk. You don't want to avoid that if you don't have to.
Right.
If you have to, then you would go to an isolate. And you're going to get the same muscle building powder out of both. So that don't let anybody say any different there.
Yeah.
Same muscle building power. So I like what another guy said. Same amount of muscle you're going to build. Same amount of recovery you're going to build. It doesn't matter. I just like the extra health. And not only that, this is a fact. It's a little less expensive concentrate, so I don't have to take it that second step and get all the other crap out, which I want to keep in.
Yeah.
But the other part is they always taste better. It's not even close between an isolate and a concentrate, unless they're loading your isolate up with all kinds of artificial shit.
Yeah.
Then you can make it taste any way you want.
Well, concentrate's like actual like milky, and then isolate's like translucent.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, it can be. You can also you can be milky also, but it's the same time. It's not like it's just the taste doesn't taste. You got to really mask the tape of an isolate because it's more bitter. Yeah. And hydrolysates are more bitter too, because you're wiping out some of that great stuff that comes and makes the natural flavor.
You think concentrate? That's your answer?
But for me,
for you, yeah,
I'm telling you right. For you, I would. I mean, not for you because you can't.
I would.
You can't have either. Then for someone else that was like you, then you got to go isolate.
Yeah.
But they're going to get this. To your point now that we were talking about, when it comes to the value of recovery and muscle building, they're identical.
Yeah.
I just think from the health standpoint, with the health globulins that are in there, I like the concentrate.
And those health globulins play a role just in
your overall immune system, building it, keeping it strong. These are special proteins that do find their way in to be able to have those globulins there that really work out well all the way around.
Now, between that, so all three of them, there's no, is hydrolysate really any significantly better than?
Well, only if it was digestive issue for you. It might be a little bit, because it's like I said, it's a third step now.
Yeah.
You're taking it, even isolate even further, and you're just, you're chopping it all up. So it might just be able to get into your system, but try it from a digestive standpoint. The cost factor certainly wouldn't be worth it. I don't know unless money doesn't mean anything to you or whatever. Then you're not going to hurt yourself taking it. But again, you're not going to have those other growth factors we talked about that are naturally in the concentrate.
Even more refined.
Yeah. So let's just settle the argument for everybody there. Just make sure the whole world hears that. Yeah. And they'll know. And then listen, I'm not pitting an isolate against a concentrate. Yeah. We make both.
But
I'm just telling you.
I'm just asking you because people
people do it all the time. I know they're just selling it.
All right, we'll get to the myth part of the whey proteins here, which is does whey cause acne?
Well, okay, like any food can cause an allergy, right? Like any food can. There's other foods that people talk about, sugars and sweets that cause acne. Okay, now there is definitely it has definitely been shown that in a very small really a susceptible adolescent population that started drinking whey, and I'm talking about a very small percentage. You're in the ones, or obviously one or two, single digit shit. They would get what we call trunk acne. In other words, it's on the trunk, not in the face or any of these things. So it's not like a hormonal imbalance. However, what it does, because whey protein is a strong protein, especially for adolescents. When I say it's strong, it's what makes you grow, and it rebuilds muscle. So it affects your hormones in a good way. Yeah. Well, that can affect acne with some people that just have a little hormone imbalance. Because, as we know, severe acne is definitely a genetic issue. And so if you don't have any acne and you're using whey, and you find a little bit on your trunk, then stop using it. Yeah. Pretty simple. But it's a very small, really, really very few, and that generally it would be an adolescent, and you wouldn't notice it on the trunk somewhere. Yeah.
And then is whey inflammatory?
Oh, it's anti-inflammatory. It's actually been studied for that. We have a thing that we call C-reactive protein that we measure in the human body to find out how much inflammation is going on, because it's a sign of aging. And whey significantly reduces those markers. Lots of studies on that. Multiple studies that show that whey actually reduces inflammation. I don't know someone just maybe read the study backwards or something, because there's no such thing as that.
All right, we'll get into probably what I think is the second most popular protein, which is soy, right? Because that is the most complete plant protein you can get.
Oh, yeah, it's the only complete plant protein. I mean, there are other ones that can be complete, but you've got to eat tons of them to get there. But it's the only one. Remember, we were talking about the predicted digestibility corrective amino acid score?
Yeah.
God, I can't believe I remember that. I just pulled that out of my ass because it's, I mean, I don't know, last time I even remember doing it, I wrote a thesis years ago about proteins and so forth. I can't believe I remember that. Well, so soy is the only plant protein that has 100. All animal proteins are 100, which means that by themselves, if that was your sole protein source, it would sustain the human needs, okay?
Yeah.
Soy can do that with its only plant. The other ones can't. So if you just took even pea, which is actually a very good amino acid profile, if that was your only source of protein, it's lower. It's like an 82. It cannot sustain the human rebuilding constantly if that was your sole protein. Now, we're assuming it wouldn't be your sole protein. You might have some rice grains could complement the pea and make it a good protein. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but that's what we always used before. So soy is the only complete, what we like to call really a solid complete protein. It's low in a couple of sulfur amino acids. So it takes about 1.5 times the soy to equal a serving of whey. So if you wanted to get 30 grams of great protein, you could do that in like a scoop of whey, let's just say. You would need 2 scoops of soy to equal that.
Of the same weight, right?
Double,
so basically,
calories. So calories would be twice as much.
Oh, twice as much.
Yeah.
And that's
1.5.
Because there's more carbs in it? Or?
Yeah, there's more of everything in it. I mean, no, there's less protein per content. There's just, it's not as much protein. Whey is pretty much 100% protein. You can just keep it that way. 90% of whey is protein.
Yeah.
Soy is probably more like 60%, 70%. Okay, so you just need a little more. That's all. And listen, I mean, I do want to make sure that every listener get this. You can build just as much muscle with plant protein as you can with animal protein. Really? You just got to take more of it. That's all. And you got to complement it properly. So grains and legumes, you mix them, and then you can get your amino acid score up. So make sure that. So all I'm saying is we know that whey, gram for gram, is far.
But you don't need to complement soy, right?
No,
if you're taking in all soy.
No, soy would make it. Yeah. Soy would make it all the way, but that's not going to be your sole protein source. Okay, so let's hope anyway. I mean, it's always good to mix up stuff because they all bring. Don't forget, soy brings all kinds of cool phytochemicals to the party when you bring soy protein that's left in the plant and so forth. Beef brings all kinds of really cool stuff to the party. B12, iron that you really can't. And the cow has already converted it from the non-bioavailable form because the cow ate the grass that had the iron and converted it to a heme iron that we can eat. Yeah. We eat the cow, we get it in an already bioavailable form because the cow prepared it for us.
Yeah.
So that's how that kind of stuff works. Plants, it takes a while to extract that stuff off plants. That's why people can't eat plants very well because you need longer stomachs.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's and then fish brings all kinds of great fats that you just don't get in your diet. There's omega-3s that are in fish. You don't get that from the meat. You don't get that from other ones. So you want to vary your protein sources.
All right, let's get to the myths here on soy, though. Okay, so a big thing on the internet that gets thrown around a lot. I don't even know if this has been flagged to where you're not allowed to say it anymore because it's become somewhat derogatory. It's like they call you a soy boy if you
because
if you're like soft or something like that, they'll call you a soy boy because that huge myth, or I don't know if it's a myth, you can tell me, of soy producing estrogen in the body.
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. The most recent meta-analysis, 52 studies on soy in healthy men, right? Healthy young men, older men, 52 different studies, meta-analysis shows that soy does not affect any of the estrogen levels when used even up to 2 or 3 times a day, which no one does that in the U.S., right? That might just be one of your meals or, another meal or whatever. Okay. So that would be like crazy. So and not only that, it also reduces overall cancers. Because that was the other thing there, the estrogens and, different types of cancers it might raise because the isoflavones in there, those are naturally in soy protein. They're actually good for you. All the way around. They help control things. So listen, there's plenty of studies out there. So there's still an urban legend left over.
Yeah.
I suppose that if again, there's a difference between the Asian population. And by the way, they live longer than us and they have less cancer than we do. Right. And sometimes that's their only diet is soy.
Yeah.
So it says something. And soy, by the way, so all the listeners should know that none of the proteins, not even whey, is allowed to make a health claim that is okayed by the FDA. No, none of the proteins.
Really?
Soy can.
What,
Soy
and
can
that-
lower cholesterol. It can be a part of a healthy diet to offset other types of disease. These are claims that you can make with soy. You can't make it with the other ones. We know the health benefit, but you have to go out and prove it. There have been so many studies on soy.
And that's been approved by the FDA.
By the FDA, that it can help lower cholesterol, and it's a healthy part of a diet. So there's some, you don't get that with the other ones. Not that of course there are health benefits to the other ones, but to get an authorized claim, you got to go through all the work of the studies, submit it, and go through all that. FDA, they'll forever. Like calcium has it for preventing osteoporosis.
Yeah.
That's a claim. Okay, so supplement. And that's approved.
And so to clarify, how does that myth get started?
Well, it got started because, the isoflavones in there, they can affect estrogen levels in females and male, and they actually have they're sort of, they have the same sort of result in the estrogen receptors. They're a molecule that kind of goes in there. But if anything, it's just all it's doing is leveling things out properly. That's it. So it got started there because isoflavones have an estrogenic effect in the body, but in a good way, obviously, not a bad way.
So it does increase it?
No, it doesn't increase it. It's a good way. Yeah. So it might even lower it in some men, or just keep it even.
Yeah,
keep it where it needs to be in the feedback loop. In fact, I wrote it in there. I remember doing this because we have, there's soy in almost all your nutrition bars use soy protein because it works so much better, tastes so much better in a bar when you bake them like that, nutrition bars. So I had that question. I looked up and you'll see it in there. It actually shows that there's those 52 studies, no effect on the two different estradiol and estrogen, none in men at all. And same with testosterone, does not affect testosterone. Free testosterone or bound testosterone doesn't affect it. I put it somewhere. I wrote it in this other paper a long time ago. But yeah, you can go look it up. Look at the meta-analysis on soy and cancer, and you'll get all those facts. And there's nothing. So now listen. You got to put things in perspective. Is someone going to how many times a day you're going to have soy as your main protein source in here in the U.S.? Very few people do. It doesn't matter if you do, where you're still okay. But I'm just saying. So these people on the internet, they're still saying that. Again, they're just not up to current science. That's all. They're just, that's how every little urban myth has a thread of something that was attached to something taken out of context.
Right.
And that's one of those things that started that way.
It's clinging on to.
But by the way, so it's the biggest protein in the world. We don't see anybody in Asia. They live longer than us. So it's like, and they don't have any of the estrogen issues and so the soy boy thing is just, somebody that sounds like something that,
kids using to pick on each other.
I guess, yeah, exactly. Some bully.
Let's move to the pea protein. So, pea protein's pretty big. That's like what I take. So, what is pea protein?
Pea protein, biological value of that is, it's lower, obviously, probably in the 80s or 90s, somewhere in there. But it doesn't have the PDCAA, right, score that's up there. It doesn't hit the 100. But you're not going to have it as only your protein source. You'll have rice. You'll have other stuff. So how do you make it good? Throw some seeds in with it. And that brings it up to easily. So when you make pea, the reason pea, because it's very easy to work with. Don't forget, when you're manufacturing things like this, you got to be really foods that are easy to work with, that you can actually mask the taste, because no one likes frickin' raw peas and stuff, So you got to mask the taste and turn it into something that's palatable, because you want people to keep using it. Okay, so you got all these things you got to think about. And pea is really one that has really come out recently, like in the last 20 years, as a really good plant source of protein. It's higher than most. It's got a pretty good amino acid profile. Nothing like whey, of course, or not even quite as good as soy, but very, very close to soy, let's say. Now all you got to do is fortify it a little bit. And it's as good as anything all the way around. And I've seen some studies, by the way, against muscle gains from using a whey supplement versus a pea supplement, and pretty even.
As far as the pea, I can attest to the palatability of all of that.
Yeah.
Because that was something I took for granted in my life, was having whay protein and then having to switch. Like when my autoimmune kicked in, I had to switch to the pea protein. And
I don't like it.
That was a hard adjustment, I swear.
It's hard to mask that stuff. That's why by the way, that's why people don't eat all the vegetables they should, because it doesn't taste great. Yeah. And by the way, little science lessons for everybody. So that what turned us off to vegetables is just sort of innate. In other words, when ancient humans would eat vegetables, they realized there's no energy in it.
Yeah.
There's basically no calories. It just goes straight through you. But that's all that was available, right?
Yeah.
So they just turn off to not liking it.
Yeah.
But when they ate something sweet, they knew the energy, they would just perk up immediately. And so that's how we get addicted to sugar and not fiber.
Evolution.
There you go. It's a little science for everybody there.
All right. So pea protein is good. It just needs to be fortified to be comparable.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, you can fortify it. And what we do with ours, we take the pea extract, a really good one too, yellow pea, and we add biofermentation amino acids. So we make it exactly the same as a whey profile. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a little more expensive. So we're making it dead equal to whey. There'd be no difference in anything at all.
And then I think that does it for the types of plant proteins that are like really popular out there.
Yeah.
As far as all of those go, plant proteins as a whole, is there a problem with like heavy metals in plant proteins and all of this stuff?
Yeah. Okay. Let me go there. That's a good question. Because any plant protein is going to have more metal in it because it's naturally occurring in the ground. That means it's in the plant.
Yeah.
And you can't clean it all out or you're going to wipe out everything else that's in there too.
Yeah.
So you're allowed a certain amount of lead, a certain amount of mercury, cadmium. These are the metals. They're found on our earth. Okay. They're found in our bodies. Arsenic's found in our bodies. Okay.
Right.
It's all part of our, it's just not that much. Okay. So what happens is if you meeting government standards, I think every vegan protein you're going to find on the market will meet the U.S. standards, the NSF certified for sports standards on metals. So they'll do that. But you're going to have a higher content and what we call that parts per million. You're allowed a certain amount of parts per million in one serving of a protein, okay?
Yeah.
Of those metals. So what you'll find out with you're going to have more of those in plants, but it's still below the federal or World Health actually level. California is, listen, and I live here, I love it, but we're really screwed up when it comes to laws and regulations, right? That's why a lot of people do leave here. All that. And so we have this ridiculously low level that really no plant protein can get. But why is the rest of the world okay that they have it, but it's not if you live in California? So it's kind of a joke. So those labels are on there. But yeah, the vegetarian protein, a vegan protein is going to have higher metal counts, but it's still below the federal standards. And listen, it's not your sole source for the day, right?
Yeah.
1 a day, 2 a day. I mean, you're never even going to come close to a level of anything you have to worry about. Yeah. So that's it. It's going to have higher in the vegan proteins.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wipe the whole thing out.
Well, I mean, if you're eating your fruits and vegetables,
you're
anyways,
good. And you're taking your multivitamin, your antioxidants.
No,
every
I'm saying if you're eating fruits and vegetables, you're getting it through your plant.
You're getting more in a cup of spinach than you'll ever get in a plant protein.
Yeah. So
that's why it's on every grocery store, and you can't see it. Every grocery store's got a little disclaimer at the bottom. Yeah, some of the foods have. No one. I mean, come on, it's just ridiculous. You'll get more out of that for sure.
Yeah. Maybe should have done this right after the whey, but let's talk about casein here. Okay, so there's a lot. There's some casein stands out there that are a big fan of that because I guess it has slower digestion or something like that. So why would you do a casein versus a whey?
Well, like I said, and I hope everybody got this, every protein source. Now, casein is the other half of milk, right? You got casein and whey.
Does it have the same bio?
Has the same? No. It's quite different from a digestibility factor because it sticks in the stomach a long time. Your stomach kind of curds up in your stomach. Oh. All right. And then it slowly releases the amino acids. That's why people like to take it before they go to bed. They'll use a casein one so it can release over their 8 hours of sleep. That's pretty much overkill. As long as you're getting enough protein, you're probably pretty good. I don't think it makes a difference that much. And I've seen some studies. I wrote a thing on it where it looks like the amino acids are still releasing, but we never measured the muscle 6 months later to find out if it's bigger from you sleeping with casein. Casein in you. So I don't think there's any. I mean, listen, it's fun, and if
you're trying to min max,
Yeah, right. Exactly. You never know. So hell, why not? I mean, that's why I was like this. Hey, if you think it's working, it's working. Just go ahead and do it. It's not going to hurt anybody. But I don't know if I need. If it works into your budget, You want to have some casein before you go to bed, and you're a bodybuilder, or in the off season, because you wouldn't do it in the on season, and it was your dieting. But if you go ahead and take some casein before you go. I mean, it's not. It's just a slow releasing one. Same amino acids that's in your whey portion. It's just a slow release over there. So the bioavailability is a little bit less. The digestibility is a little bit less. But actually, they'll get in there. Still.
But you'll get the same results over time.
Yeah,
with
it will. As far as
building.
muscle building goes, there are some. Don't forget, casein also has some other unique health benefits, like fish does and like beef does, or different than whey. That might have some other separate benefits. Not really studied all that much though. But yeah.
And then another highly bioavailable source here we have is egg white and egg white protein.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eggs, like I told you, is 100%. It's 100.
But now they're making egg white powders. So
yeah. Oh, they're making them everywhere. Yeah. People like them. And there's some other things in eggs that are not in whey, obviously. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Different vitamins and minerals that might be in the egg white that are left over. So you got a little of that. But there's nothing special about it. There's 16 calories in an egg white and 3 grams of protein. A whole egg is 80 calories and 6 grams of protein. But you get all the choline, B vitamins. I mean, an egg is exactly what's in our body.
Accompanied with a lot of fat, though.
Yeah, it comes with a lot of fat, and it comes with a
whole
little cholesterol.
Well, let's talk about egg white protein.
Yeah, egg white proteins is good. It's just it falls right into that same category.
It's the same. You would say it's the same as whey as far as digest.
I mean, nothing's the same as whey. We've already checked it out. Whey is, and again, it's superior, but only by this much over things like egg whites.
Razor thin margins.
Right? Yeah, it is. It's just a little bit more. Just get enough protein.
So it's
and those are clean sources.
Right.
Remember, you want a clean source of protein as well. You don't want a big giant ribeye.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having that on your birthday.
Yeah.
Or someone else's birthday. I mean, because they're pretty good, I admit. But I really don't like fat. I actually get turned off to the grizzly fat and stuff there in those things. But that's what flavors the meat. So that's all. You want clean sources like that. So, like a flank steak, and then, of course, that's that. And then you got your whey. That doesn't get cleaner than that. As far as calorie-wise, it's calorically efficient. Mm-hmm. Now, egg whites, again, that's a lot of stuff to make because if you want 30 grams of protein, you got to have how many eggs?
Yeah, I'm just saying the powders.
10 eggs.
You can buy powders.
Oh, yeah, you can buy powders. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The egg white powders. So the only
good. They're all good.
Alternative thing to whey is that it might just have different.
The different other contents that it brings along with it, whatever the little tiny trace fat that might be in there might be good, and a little.
Yeah.
And then, of course, whatever vitamins and minerals are in there naturally occurring.
All right, and now we got one here that I don't really understand all too much, which is the collagen protein. So I understand collagen to help with joint stuff and whatnot, but people are talking about peptide powders and collagen protein powder. Yeah. Not entirely sure what that is.
Okay, well, collagen is what, by the way, it is the largest amount of protein in our body is collagen. It makes up our skin, which is like 30% of our body proteins are found in the form of collagen. But collagen is not a complete protein, which means it can't build muscle if that was your protein source. It's missing tryptophan and cysteine, I think. I can't even believe I'm pulling this shit out of my brain. I think tryptophan and cysteine are the two that it's missing, which means it's no good for muscle repair.
Yeah.
Because it's a broken link. You can't. It gets halfway there. Oh, can't make this muscle. It's gone. So now you can have other amino acids around that might be able to complete it to a certain extent. But it's no good for before and after a workout.
Yeah.
But you can mix it with your before and after workout because the amino acid structure of a collagen is significantly different than a muscle on the peptides. Yeah. Like it's got more methionine. I forget what glycine. Yeah, glycine and a few other amino acids got a higher content. So the goal of taking a collagen supplement is those amino acids somehow get to the target tissues of your joints, or it gets to your skin to help repair your skin because that's collagen. And your skin, your cells are turning over every day. Built, trillions of cells are replacing themselves, and that's what they use, that collagen protein. But the bottom line is when you take a collagen protein, it's just going to be broken down into the amino acids, and then it's going to get scattered all over the body. So what you want is a collagen peptide. If you're trying to deal with skin and joints, you don't take a powder, unless the powder is a peptide. Somehow they took a peptide and ground it up, which would be weird. Most peptides would be in like a capsule form or something like that. But you could be a powder, though. So you end up with a nano-sized, tiny, tiny little peptide. Remember I said what a peptide was? It's a little string of amino acids.
Right.
Okay, well, it's a little string of amino acids that are found in cartilage, so it mimics human cartilage. And then you make it really tiny. That's what we do in the lab. Make it really tiny so it sneaks in to into your intestine. Once it's in your intestines, it gets absorbed into the body rather than being broken down.
Yeah.
A collagen powder, if it's just collagen, not a collagen peptide, collagen powder is just going to get broken down like any other powder and just scattered all over the body. So you don't want that for your joints or your skin, really. What you want, unless it's a collagen peptide powder, okay? So it says peptide in it. But if you look at BioCell Collagen, is a great company that we partner with on that. They did a really great job. What they do is they extract the cartilage from a source, an animal source that's identical to, and it's actually a chicken sternum, identical to our composition of our cartilage. Then they take that molecule and they make it tiny, tiny, tiny so it gets in intact and goes to the target tissue where it's needed. So now you're getting a little bit more collagen at the target tissues and you're able to rebuild. So it's the building blocks of cartilage and the building blocks of skin. And the reason I like them is because they've actually done clinical trials around it and they've shown that it does make a significant difference for joints and that. So that's what you want, a collagen peptide. Don't mix it up with protein powders like we were just talking about. It is a protein, it can be a protein powder, but you're using it for a different purpose.
Right.
You're not using it to rebuild muscles because it's incomplete protein, which means you can't.
So you would use it for just kind of
your joints and skin.
But
Now,
for
listen,
the protein powder.
Yeah, you can mix it into a protein powder because athletes use it because you know how you repair muscle? It takes like 72 hours to repair all the significant damage to a muscle. Same thing with cartilage. It's doing the same thing. So if you're an athlete that's does a lot of jumping, like whether it be basketball, whether it be football, whether it be soccer, and quick jumping and bouncing up and down all the time, the jarring of the joints, they get beat up just like your muscle gets beat up. And collagen, if you can keep it intact, can get to the target tissues to help heal it the way your amino acids get to your muscle to heal it. The other aminos, your full aminos.
And then I looked up on my own about that stuff, and it just, everyone's claiming, oh, you need to take collagen, peptides, protein, whatever, but it says none of these are fully supported by research.
Which ones?
All these claims of, how it can help your
collagen, you mean?
Yeah, the collagen,
right,
protein, and whatnot.
Yeah,
like
listen,
how
collagen,
it helps with joint, gut, skin, and hair and bone health. Like it hasn't been proven by research yet.
No, there's a lot of studies that show that collagen supplementation's made a difference. Certainly with the skin, they go through all kinds of trials that show that.
Well, maybe that's the supplements, but I'm talking maybe the protein powders.
Oh, the protein powders, yeah. It depends on what they were looking at. There's plenty of the supplements. Like I said, on the peptide side, you're seeing a lot of good science out there. I think what they're saying is this. When you talk about evidence-based contingency, what that means, it means that the majority of scientists in that particular field agree with this treatment. Or this solution. Okay, and again, we're really talking about mostly in medicine, but when it comes to the supplement side, like when it comes to the ergogenic or performance-enhancing supplements, evidence-based, everyone agrees. Creatine, beta-alanine, okay, protein for long-term repair, but not like, not improving performance, but just long recovery. You've got carbohydrate loading. You've got vasodilators. These are things that everybody pretty much agrees they work. All right. Bicarbonate's another one. But they work to improve performance. Now you start pushing the envelope when you're looking at things that have like few clinical trials around it, but it shows it made a difference here, but it hasn't crossed into that evidence-based world. Where in these particular collagen supplements, it's rare to find good clinical trials that really supported the fact that they did make a difference. And they're going to have to go to all the imaging in order to see if the cartilage did change, measure the cartilage levels in the body before and after. And a few have. That's why we partnered with BioCell Collagen. They're the ones that have spent the money doing those clinical trials. And again, and bringing fluid to the joint with hyaluronic acid, that's usually part of a collagen supplement. So again, things like that, and that they actually showed enough. And then, of course, we've had just the anecdotal evidence, which means the people out there, what we call empirical data, the experience. It's been so many years, and the sales just keep going up. It means they're working. Yeah, for sure. So there's again, it's hard to get clinical trials on supplements because there's no incentive for people to do it because you can't patent. You can patent extraction methods, but you can't really patent like a vitamin. Someone discovered that if we found out that vitamin C somehow cures a certain cancer. Well, no one, the last thing the drug companies would want to happen, because you can buy that in the free market.
Yeah.
Right. And then they couldn't give you a prescription for it, but you can't patent a natural ingredient.
Yeah.
You can patent the extraction how you made it or how you put it together, but then anybody else can copy that and it's still legal. So that's why you don't have the same incentive that Big Pharma does. So you're not going to get the clinical trials that you really want. And these things don't work like drugs. I mean, drugs, listen, you have to pay the price if you have to take medication, because your liver's going to quit on you eventually. I mean, if you're hooked on it for life, there's all kinds of downsides because they go to the target tissue. They're designed to do that, which means something. For every action, there's a reaction. Yeah. Supplements take time as the body begins to rebuild, because you're putting things that are already in the body and the body already makes. You're just bringing it up to a level again, at a more youthful level. That's what you're trying to do.
All right. So that's going to do it for all the powder types. So with that being said, what's the best overall?
Powder type?
Yeah.
Well, as long as you don't have a dairy allergy, be Whey.
Yeah.
Yeah, be Whey. I mean, no one argues that. And that's evidence-based. Every scientist, because it's already proven in 104. And then when you test it against all the other ones out there, okay, now from an environmental standpoint, let's go with a plant protein.
Yeah.
Okay. So from that, because we know what the cow is going to do to our environment, but yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah. We're team Whey concentrate over here, I guess.
I guess, but a good one. There's too many other ones out there. Like,
and if you need to find a good one,
that's
go look at
properly.
Our mass market breakdown of how you can go and find good quality supplements.
Finding a good one isn't that hard.
And that's going to take us to our next segment. We got a video here that we're going to react to where apparently you shouldn't even be taking any of these powders. There's something else better to be taking apparently here that we are unaware of. Papa Spruce, look at a video here, okay, and give us his raw reaction to it.
Did you know 82% of whey protein we consume is converted into sugar or body fat? And only 18% is used to make new protein in our body? It is. This is because of whey's amino acid profile, which is very different to what our body needs. Protein is made inside our body from the amino acids we get from protein. But 82% of the amino acids in whey aren't used by the body. They're converted into sugar or body fat, the actual calories of whey. This causes us to build excess body fat, and it's one of the main reasons we have to do so much cutting. PerfectAmino is the exact amino acid profile necessary to build new protein, but without excess amino acids that the body doesn't use and then convert into sugar or fat. One serving of PerfectAminos builds the same amount of lean muscle as 30 grams of whey, but without caloric impact. So we can take this during a cut or a fasted workout and not only keep our lean muscle while losing body fat, but even increase that lean muscle. You need to take this.
I mean, I know what he's saying. Obviously, he's selling something there, and he's completely blowing everything out of proportion and context. He should know that I did write the book on amino acids in sports. So I was the first one to ever commercialize a product of just there are 9 essential aminos, but there's only 8 that are involved in triggering in initiating muscle protein synthesis at what we call mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin. Okay, though there are 8 amino acids that are involved, the ones he's talking about here, even though he's probably got tryptophan named, and tryptophan is not one of them, even though it's an essential. Mm-hmm. You only need the 8. And these Volpe, Tipton, all the smartest researchers in the world are the ones that discovered this in the 90s, and I got fortunate enough to be invited to write the text on it. I wrote the text on it for postgraduate stuff for CRC Press, and other amino acids in sports, and I discovered it, and I commercialized the product in 2003. Got a couple of awards for it too, and it's what it was. It's what he's talking about there. But there's a problem with this. The bullshit that you just heard about turning to sugar or fat. Well, the only way any protein turns to fat is you're eating too many calories. So what's the context you're eating it?
Yeah.
Okay, those 8 amino acids are the ones, and which is he may throw in the 9th, but hopefully he doesn't have much tryptophan because that would be a bad thing. The 8 that were done in the studies, so for astronauts, the older population, people that didn't work out, that actually, these are the amino acids. And I'll tell you another thing he's correct about. Those amino acids, you get for in ours, because we use the right dosage, of course, because again, I wrote the whole thing on it, so no one would know that better than me. The right dosage, it takes about 40 grams of whey to get those 8 at that number, right? And then he's saying, he's kind of spinning. So without all the other stuff, well, I got news for you. you still need the other amino acids in your body or game over, because those things are the things that complete the synthesis process. They're non-essential. So he was going to say, well, you can make them from the essentials. Yeah, but non-essentials they go to all different things in the body. They're signals in the body. They're all parts of other things that happen. Glutamine feeds our gut. I mean, these are all things that each individual amino acid has its own action in the body, whether it's non-essential or not. And if you needed to have the essentials you took in a little puny dose like I see I'm giving there, then you're not going to, and that's all you're taking in, and all the proteins, you're in trouble. So again, he's playing off, he's using a fear factor here with all that. Protein is never converted to fat in the body. No part of protein is converted to fat in the body, okay? Unless you're eating too many calories. Yeah. And the sugar thing, what we call, they're glucogenic and ketogenic amino acids, which means that protein being the only macronutrient between protein, fats, and carbs that can be used for energy, and it can be used to build tissues, right?
Yeah.
And it can be used as signals and all the hormones we make and all this, that's what it does. Okay, so, but when your body needs energy because you're starving, of course it's going to be able to break down the protein. It doesn't care how big your biceps are. Yeah. It cares that you stay alive. So your cells need the energy, so it breaks down the amino acids. Some go through the Krebs cycle as a sugar, and some enter the TCA cycle as a fat. And those are called ketogenic ones and glucogenic. So that's, and it's spinning that into sugar. Yeah. Right? But it's an energy molecule where we extract electrons into the chain and produce ATP when your energy levels are low. So this is all out of context, 100%. And this chart here, where the only thing that's correct in this chart is the fact that he's got the 99%, that his little formula here, which I think you're going to show me in a bit. But hang on. Those are going to go to mTOR. They actually will end up bypassing, and this is all in the chapter that real people read, instead of contorting information. They actually bypass splanchnic extraction, get right to the muscle cell. And what we're trying to do, we're flooding the muscle. It's called hyperaminoacidemia. Flooding it from the extracellular side, pushing in through, so there's a flow going into mTOR, crossing off all the signals. So when muscle contraction is taking place, body kind of shuts down, tearing up muscle. We're sending a signal to go ahead and build it. So that's the only thing. He's obviously probably copied a formula, or maybe you read my chapter or whatever many years ago. But the bottom line is that part is correct. The rest of this stuff here, catabolic, all the way down here, this is like, it's comical. That's the comical side of this whole thing. So again, almost every athlete uses whey protein, just we know that. And I don't think they're fat. Yeah. Every bodybuilder cuts with whey protein. They're losing body fat. So he's just spinning it wrong. And I think he's trying to hold on to the truth, but scare you into doing something different. You know what I mean? That's all he's trying to do there. So that's it. I mean, that's all of it is. And again, no scientists in the world, they would just laugh at him. They would just turn that off.
All right, and now I'm going to pull up the formula.
Yeah, do that, because I'd love to see that, because only I know best. And by the way, I did write the book on that. Well, okay, see that? Well, see, that's a non-starter.
That is the nutrition facts on that.
Okay, so hopefully everybody out there knows that you've learned this. That's a non-starter.
Why?
Because he doesn't call out the individual there, and it's called a proprietary blend. Mm-hmm. It could be proprietary, which means you own it, right? That's all it means. Right. But they're hiding the numbers. It's proprietary. I don't want to tell anybody because they'll copy my formula, and only I know my formula. That is bullshit. Yeah. Okay, so that's just a chicken shit way. And 5 grams, by the way, that's barely enough for anything. So the real number is 6. The highest number is 18 grams. Okay, of those amino acids that we just discussed. Okay, and I see he's got them in here. He shouldn't have tryptophan, and he should go look at the real studies that actually, and by the one, Park et al., one of the best ones that was just done a couple years ago, nails the whole thing. And it really tells you, even though they say all the essentials, that you go look at the studies and say tryptophan is not part of it in the formula that is used, because you don't want it. Free-form tryptophan, it goes to your brain, it gets through the blood-brain barrier as a large neutral amino acid, and it helps you produce serotonin, which causes fatigue. So I'm just advising him now, go ahead and get that one out, because it's not making any difference. You're just trying to keep yourself from having an argument about 8 versus 9 amino acids. Yeah. It's just kind of a chicken shit way of doing it. But bottom line is, non-starter, no one in pro sports would take something like this. Well, I don't even think it's third-party tested, is it? It's not even NSF certified.
No.
Yeah, so there's another joke. Okay, I would never. No one in sports would ever take
Right,
it.
yeah, you can't.
They're tested. You can't.
Pro
you can't.
sports, you can't have anything outside NSF.
Or college.
Yeah.
Or college, or anybody that's drug tested. So that's, again, but the non-starters are this. Leucine, valine, isoleucine. How much?
Yeah.
And first of all, I want 4 grams in a dose of the branch J. He's got 5 total. That means there's nothing of the other ones if he's got 4 grams there.
Yeah.
So this is again, that's a non-starter when there's no numbers next to the individual ingredients.
Yeah.
All right, and done. And then I don't even know this. So again, this is kind of apparently. Does anybody follow this guy?
There's a lot of people. That
A lot of people follow him? Okay.
lot.
So anyway, I'm not telling you to unfollow. Maybe he's got some really other cool stuff. And, he's not a bad looking guy, so go ahead and follow him.
Yeah.
But just turn this one off. If he ever brings this up again, just click it off.
Yeah, there's a bit.
Until he changes it.
There's some serious charlatan vibes going on.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. Well,
know.
that's the problem with the internet. And this is just really too bad because this stuff works. You take the right dosage and you take it properly. That's the other secret. Using it properly.
But you're taking it for different reasons than your protein intake, right?
Absolutely. You're
using
taking
it
this to keep mTOR firing. You're going to recover better with this. And it also overcomes anabolic resistance in the aging population. Because we like me, we become resistant.
So it's a great supplement for your workouts, not
for your workouts or if you're not working out.
Right.
Because it can help hold on to your muscle.
But not
longer.
as your sole protein intake.
It'd be impossible. No one would do that.
Yeah.
He's not saying that.
When I'm watching that is like throw out your
You would die.
whey.
If that was your sole
Well,
protein
isn't
intake,
that what that video is
I
talking
think he's
about?
saying that
it's saying throw out your
compared to
whey.
other powders that you might be using. I think he's trying to say that even though he didn't. If you're using
whey
a
protein.
whey protein powder, use this instead for your one supplement of the day. I didn't hear it.
He said if you're on a cut.
Well, that can't be your
Take
only
that as
protein
your
source. He wouldn't have said that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
even if he.
he's not talking to you.
I know.
He's talking to me and the other people that are going to take it that way.
I think what he's saying, if you use this, you don't need your whey. I mean, that's what he's saying in a charlatan way.
Right.
Get it? Charlatan way.
Yeah.
Way. Okay, but anyway, that's what it is. I don't think he would. No one in the right mind would ever say this is your only need for your protein source going into for cut.
Oh no,
that would be again. Listen. I got to give him a little more credit than that.
Yeah,
because no one would do that. So I just think he's saying instead of your protein powder, because that's all going to turn to fat. I can't even believe I can even repeat that shit.
Yeah, he said that as fact. Like,
I know
it's going to go to fat.
Yeah, I mean that's just really sad.
Yeah,
it's going to go all over the body in the right places as long as your calories are proper.
Yeah,
it's going to go right where you want it to go. It's going to rebuild all your tissues, all those other amino acids. They're going to work. They're sending signals. They're feeding your Krebs cycle properly when you need the energy. There are all kinds of great things that are going on with those things, And by the way, when you're taking a whey protein, you're losing body fat if you're using it in the context of calories. So the bottom line is, this is just again, it's a scare tactic.
Yeah, I mean,
the
internet's a scary place these days because, even for me.
Well, here what it is people that know nothing about nutrition selling nutrition to people who know nothing about nutrition,
right.
and that's really what you're seeing there. I mean, again, when you look at, the 40 years that we've had to work, not you, but myself and my teams and around the world and so forth, to get the reputation that we have, and so all your biggest organizations in the world sign up with us, probably know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Not to mention vetted. I mean, from liability standpoint, you've got multi-million-dollar athletes, and you've got all these assets you protect, and we're the source.
I'm coattailing these days. I'm part of it. I'm right there with you.
That's right.
It's we now.
Yeah,
not
that's
you.
right. That's right.
I'm riding those coattails.
All the guys you fight with, they all do the right thing.
But like I said, it's a scary place. Like even for somebody like me, who I felt like, when it comes to all this, like my compass points north. Like even me now, I get like taking in all this information on the internet. I'm even getting swayed. Like,
could that be true?
Where I'm like running.
Could that be true? They just discover something new?
Yeah, really. I mean, really, that's the whole point of this podcast is like I'm starting to become like compromised, and so then I'm running to you, and then you're straightening me out, and I'm like, well, I think we need to do this for everyone. So that's what Sup Beast is about.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I mean, we're going to know when there's something groundbreaking before anybody else. Because I already know the things are on the shelf and can't even talk about under NDAs with these.
Right. And it's not going to be one person just talking about it, trying to,
exactly.
like that's the thing, So,
for sure.
Yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If
Yep.
you did, like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.